This program is a paid commercial announcement and in no way represents the views of WPHT or its management.
Jake Media Partners presents The Adam Malamut Show. Real people, real perspectives, real opinion. Presented by the law offices of Adam Malamut and Associates. Powered by InjuredWorkers.com and driven by Piazza Premium Automobiles. Now, live from the Malamut and Associate Law Studios, The Adam Malamut Show. Hosted by Adam Malamut.
Memorial Day weekend, and we welcome everyone in. This is the Adam Malamut Show. Real people, real perspectives, real opinion, right here on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
Thanks, Krause. It's great to be back. Today, our guest is a South Jersey native, Holy Cross graduate, University of Maryland graduate, TERP, traveled in more than 30 countries, lived in Spain to study Spanish, talk about hardcore and immersion, worked in medical device sales, participated in more than 500 heart surgeries. I get a little queasy thinking about that. Has an MBA from Columbia, played in the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys, and he is the author of the Transition Playbook, How Athletes Win After Sports. This underachiever...
That's a big list, Adam.
This
That's a big list,
underachiever is only 31 years old. Not making me feel real good about myself right now, but I'd like to welcome my friend Phil Costa.
Adam, thank you for having me in today.
Welcome, Phil. So, Phil, we got to clear the air.
Yeah.
Which football team did you like as a kid?
Eagles, Eagles, growing up.
All right, because I'm going to tell you, I sat next to you at a Philly game, Eagles-Dallas, and your quarterback went down with an injury, and I saw the pain on your face, and obviously there's a personal relationship there. But I was a little bit concerned that I was bringing the enemy into friendly territory here.
Well, here's the thing. Now, Cowboys all the way. You know, I'm a Cowboys fan. I played for them. So being from South Jersey, I get a pass. You know, and not many other people you'll get a pass for that, but I feel like I get one for that.
You're giving yourself the pass.
Exactly.
Or nobody else is giving you the pass, but you're going to give yourself the pass.
I will, yeah.
All right. Well, when the Cowboys aren't playing the Eagles, are you still rooting for the Eagles?
Eagles do have a spot in my heart for, even though, you know, we were enemies when we played. You know, just growing up being an Eagles fan, you know, they definitely do. They're number two to me. All
right. Well, how about the family? Where do they fall?
So family and friends couldn't wait till I was done playing for the Cowboys. It took my brother a month to put the hat on for the Cowboys. And I have friends who they would come down and they're in the family section of, you know, they're surrounding with Cowboys family. They're wearing Eagles jerseys. They're spilling beer on the family. It's just like, you know, they still stayed true to the Eagles, but they would cheer for me, but they stayed true to the Eagles.
Well, we appreciate the fact that they carried on our tradition down in Dallas.
They did. They represented well. Don't worry.
That's great. So every kid has a dream when they were a kid. At some point, what they want to do. What was yours?
So I always thought I would be FBI. So I studied criminal justice at the University of Maryland, and I was going down that path early on.
What kind of student were you?
In high school, it could have been better. You know, and I straightened out when I got to college. I was an honor roll student throughout college, but, you know, high school could have been better for sure.
So at what point did you realize it was time to buckle down?
You know, it was really probably my senior year of high school where, you know, recruiters would come in, and this is something I tell college or high school athletes all the time is you make a recruiter's job so much easier when you get good grades. They don't have to worry about you in that aspect. So it's probably for me senior year.
So Holy Cross, you get back there at all?
I did. I was there a couple weeks ago. Ran into the kids and stopped by the weight room. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Were the kids outshining in the weight room? You still have it?
They were trying, man.
You still have it?
I haven't touched a bench press in a long time, but yeah, they have Tim Durkin is their head football coach over there, and he's trying to do, and I think he is doing a lot of great things to bring that program back to where it was.
Now, Maryland's a tough leap to the NFL. I mean, there's been some great players that have gone from Maryland to the NFL. We know about the Frank Wychecks, and I can't recall his name, but there was a great defensive tackle.
Randy White.
Well, Randy White, but even more recently, how did you make it from Maryland down to Dallas?
Well, I knew day one I would be in the NFL. It's the exact opposite of that, where I didn't start to my third year down there. I was fortunate to be able to go to Maryland, but that was the only big school that offered me from high school to college. From college to pro, I was a free agent. Nobody wanted me. I was undrafted. So it was definitely not, here I am, throw my helmet on the field and I've arrived. It was the exact opposite of that.
Let's talk about high school sports for a second. This is important because, as you know, I have 2 young children, and one of my big frustrations is seeing these parents coaching up their kids, thinking that every single kid's going to be a pro. More often than not, and especially for the younger set, I find that they're coaching their kids up and they're making them disinterested in sports. As a kid, did you play multiple sports?
I did. So I played basketball, baseball. I was on the high school golf team, high school football, high school basketball, so a lot of different sports, yes.
I think we just found our fourth for our next charity foursome.
Let's do it, man.
All right, good. So what's your take on student athletes and young children playing multiple sports?
All for it. I think college coaches want to see that. And actually, we were talking before the show about, pro soccer, female soccer players. And I was speaking to a neuropsychologist who's working right now to write a book with a pro soccer player in New Jersey. And the thing that she's writing about and talking about is, it's called, the one chapter is the car ride home. So the car ride home is, what are parents saying to the kids? And I was very, very lucky in this area where my parents, what they did was they would say, did you do your best? It was never, did you win? How'd you play? It was, did you do your best? And if you can say yes to that, nothing else matters. And that's one thing that, might make the book, she said, as we were talking, but, it was some great advice that my parents did for us, for myself and my brother.
It's interesting. And I know that I always ask my son that, and my daughter's involved in theater, and we'll have those same conversations, but with respect to a different activity. Do you feel that parents have kind of changed over the past 10, 15 years in how they approach youth sports?
Well, Adam, look at, the college, scandal that's going on now with the admission scandal. But, to bring it back to youth sports is, let the coaches do their job. Parents, be parents. And I know it's really, really hard. If you see something out there, maybe you don't like what the coach is doing. But just my own personal experience was my parents, they maybe one time out of playing 20 years of sports, and one time as a kid, they might have said something to a coach, but let coaches coach, and that's my takeaway. How about, what are your thoughts on that?
So, the way I feel is similar to you. I think that coaches, are volunteers. They do it for their love, hopefully for the love of the game, hopefully to help the kids. And I agree, coaches should be able to coach without parent interference. Where we see issues a lot of times is where the parents are trying to live their lives through their kids. So they've got their kids out there, and little Johnny's playing soccer. Little Johnny doesn't want to be out there playing soccer. Little Johnny would rather be building sandcastles out of ant farms. But little Johnny's out there because mom and dad are driving little Johnny to be there because little Johnny's 7 years old, and that's what you're supposed to do at 7 years old rather than recognizing the kid's interests.
Right.
So, Holy Cross, you mentioned that you were only scouted or really offered by one major school. I'm old enough to remember hearing about you playing when you were in high school. Why do you think that is? Do you think that that's because it's a smaller school, smaller division? I mean, you were a standout in high school.
Well, locally, and, appreciate that, but in South Jersey, yes, a little bit. But the thing was my measurements. That's what it was, is, I was short. I had short arms, not big enough. So I had all the knocks. And the guy next to me, good friend, played at Penn State, All-American there. We played next to each other, and he looked the part. So he was 6'5". He's what you want to weigh in high school, and built like an offensive lineman. And I just missed the mark on all these different things, so I had to make up for it in other ways.
So we hear about these, and I don't want to get too much into the NFL, but we hear about the combine, and we've seen all these athletes and guys who I'm friends with as well, so I don't want to put their business out there, who are combine superstars. They go out there, they perform, and all of a sudden their draft stock goes from, maybe a fringe 4th or 5th rounder to their first-round draft pick by the Philadelphia Eagles, not to mention any names, because they really performed well at the combine. They're fast. They've got a quick first step. They're very athletic, and they fail. What do you think about these metrics that they're using? Do you think that they're still usable?
There's something to the metrics, without a doubt is, typically there's, a point where you're big enough, you're good enough, and to bring academics, a point where you're smart enough, and then hard work takes over. Hard work, determination, the grit that you put into it and put in every day. As long as there are certain marks where you're good enough, and then everything else comes into play.
Now, we're going to talk throughout the show about your experience when you were in the NFL, and we're going to migrate eventually down to really what the main topic I want to talk about today, which is this book that you've written, you've co-written with your friend Rob Curley. But all of these things that you've done, and in the intro I talked about, the laundry list of things that make me, really feel bad about myself. Talk about family. I know that you've got a close family. Tell me the way they've inspired you, the way they've encouraged you.
Adam, don't sell yourself short, man. You have quite the, quite the CV. But to your question with family, they've been such a great support system. If I have a brother and sister, and my 2 parents are still local in New Jersey. My dad's a doctor, my mom's a nurse, and they've been, pivotal in when we were growing up, but even now in being such great role models for how to work. And that's one of the biggest things is, I'll just use my dad as the example. My mom, a heck of a work ethic. He goes to work at 7:30, gets done at 7, goes to the gym. Next day, same thing. 7:30, 7 goes to the gym. And he set a great example. They both did for work ethic, for my brother, my sister, and I.
It's creating routines, right?
100%.
It's all about creating a sustainable routine and the cadence behind that routine so it just keeps going. So no matter where you are, you follow that routine.
And that's where, you just said it, wherever you are. I've been in Spain for the past year, and, it's creating a routine wherever you're at. And, no, that's the thing after sports is nobody creates that routine for you. As an athlete, coaches are, they're building it. But athletes after sports have to be able to create that routine themselves. And, I'm fortunate to have great role models on how to do that.
Well, outside of your family, and look, family plays a very important role. And I think as a parent, one of the things that we stress is we only have so much time with our kids, and who are the outside forces that are really influencing our kids? Who else was an influence to you? Who else really helps you get to where you are, help create that mindset?
My co-author, Rob Curley. So I met this guy when we were 13 years old, in homeroom at Holy Cross High School. And he was a standout quarterback. But even more in today, we're both the same age, standout person where it's all about who you surround yourself with. And I've been fortunate to be able to surround myself with people like him and others who make you want to be better and push you to be the best you can be.
Well, I agree with that, and I think that one of the lessons that you can take away, and especially for the younger audience members, surround yourself with people that help you become a better person. And I'm not saying to be disingenuous, but the whole idea is, all boats rise with the tide. You don't need any anchors.
So that's my quote. I say all the time, all boats will rise.
I lent that to you.
Yeah.
All right. Good. So we're going to come back in a couple minutes. We're going to talk about, when we come back, what the NFL experience was like. I know that our listeners are curious about that. It's such an elite opportunity that is hard-earned, and I don't know that people recognize how hard it is to become an NFL player and then the elite level you need to maintain in order to keep that job. So we'll talk about that when we come back in the next segment.
And Phil Costa is our special guest here on the Adam Malamut Show as we broadcast you on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. As Adam referenced, we will get more into Phil's path into the NFL, a member of the Big Uglies, Adam.